really is good to be back. Did I tell you guys it was good to be back? So, Mike, there's a chance to make sure we're loud enough online. I've been to church every week, just in different states. Last Sunday, I was listening to Jim McCormick, good friend of mine. He runs the rescue mission for you guys that were here. He did an excellent job. And the rescue mission is a vital part of just touching people's lives just as well as The Rock is. And I listened to Pastor Josh the 2 weeks before that. His second sermon, I asked him when I got back Thursday. I sat down and talked about his retreat coming up. And I said, so where did you buy your second sermon from? And he goes, I wrote that. I go, come on, Josh, that was good. There was good stuff in there. He goes, he's doing a master's program. And he goes, I had to write. I go, it was fantastic. When you're the lead pastor and you leave, you just pray that everybody does a great job. And I got to admit, music team, you guys are great. Kids program is great. It takes a team of people to make things go right. You never win alone. You never can win anything alone. It takes a team. And so, as the lead pastor here, it's like good to know I can go and things keep going on. I told Laura, who just did the announcements, who many of you don't know, she's been at The Rock, her and her husband, who just graduated from work. Since we started, she was with me back in the 80s and the 90s when I was at Valley Community Bible Church, which is no more, and I was the youth guy. They brought me to the Montana in 1988. And when I left there, her and Jim said, yeah, wherever you feel God leads you, we'd be more than happy to step in and help you out. And she's been an integral part of this ministry ever since then. Now she has grandkids, and she isn't around much. And I said, when she did announcements last week, for you guys that were here, she did an amazing job. Amazing. I'm like, man, she is doing a phenomenal job. And I texted her. I said, Laura, please, introduce yourself. She texted me back, I'm not a rookie. I'm like, okay, yeah. And I didn't even say anything because she's not. And so it takes a huge team to make, let's face it, to make ministry work, to make ministry succeed. And I have been blessed. Listen, Janelle and I, my lovely bride, who is dealing with some serious back issues. She got an L4 cockeyed out, and she got some shots a month or so before we left. They wore out, and so she's at home. I said, just stay at home. You don't need to be out there cringing, because then I won't be able to pay attention and speak. Well, maybe I would be able to, but she stayed at home, and I know a lot of people have stayed at home. Like, I don't know where our baristas, coffee people, the people that do, I can tell you their name, Josh and Ashley, they do they make the lattes. How many of you guys missed your crack their crack coffee this morning besides me? Oh, yeah, a few of you. I know. I know Mel Carver, when he walks in, he goes here. He doesn't talk to anybody. He goes right to the barista place and goes, and he probably walked in this morning, and I saw him walk in, and he just had this disappointed look, and I'm like, dear God, don't let Mel leave, So I grabbed him said, you can't leave and go get your coffee somewhere else. But I know the reality is there's fear throughout our land. I was in Pennsylvania, Virginia, and met a lot of my friends that love Jesus. And I was amazed how many people this fear has gripped their lives. And the name of my talk today is All In. And we're going to look at some texts in the Bible on All In. I really was going to do Luke, but God just kind of motivated me to do this thing called All In, because many of you who know me know I'm an all-inner. When I gave my life to Jesus as a young man, I was just all in. When I proposed to Janelle when I was in Bible college, I went to Bible college like going to truck driving school, because I knew that God called me into the ministry, and if you're going to be a pastor, you need to have an education, you need to have a good one, and so that's where I went. And I met other students in Bible college, and I had no idea why they were there. I found out their parents just made them go there. But it was my choice, and I was paying for it. And I felt God wanted me to be a pastor, the hired holy man. And I was really in the youth ministry. I love youth ministry. I'm still a youth pastor, but most of you people don't need permission slips. I think that's the only difference between someone in high school and someone in their 40s, 50s, and 60s is you don't need a permission slip. You can just go out and do stupid things all on your own. You don't need permission to do so. It's pretty amazing. I think that's the only difference. You still have relationship problems. You know, I have old people come to me and go, oh my gosh, you can't believe what's going on in my relationship. I go, are we back in junior high? What's going on here? So, you know, I just go, this is what I do. And then many of you don't know this, but my lovely bride, Janelle, who I'll get a talking to when I get home, that's okay. I'll take my time on the way home. But she can tell you, she goes, you know, she would tell me, she goes, you know, Ken, I don't want to be married to a pastor. And I said, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm probably going to be one. But I promised her I wouldn't be normal. I said, but I won't be your normal pastor. And I think I've succeeded. You know, people wonder, they go, when I meet people, they go, you're a what? I was at Janelle's first cousin daughter got married in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. And we went to the reception afterwards, and they made these things called whoopie pies. They're little cake things with cream in them, and they're just very good. And you can tell I ate a lot. And this isolation stuff and driving stuff, all I did is eat and drive. 6,000 miles, I think I drove. Anyways, I went over, and they were bringing these desserts out, and they didn't let us eat yet. And I'm like, man, I'm going to wilt away to nothing if I don't get one of these things. That's what my wife said, no, you're not. I go, you don't know that. And so I went over, and I'm talking to the people, and we're just laughing and having a good time. He's a close friend of Barry. Barry is fine. And anyways, they go, what do you do? And I go, well, I'm a pastor. They said, no, what do you do? And I'm like, what? I don't look like a pastor to you? And the most complimentary comment I ever had, this guy goes, if you're a pastor, I want to go to your church. I said, well, why don't you show up or on the internet? Anyways. So my wife married a pastor, whether she liked it or not. And as a couple, we've been all in together in ministry. I would like, for you guys that have a Bible, I would like you to turn to 1 Kings chapter 19. And we're going to look at, I'm going to read to you the call of Elisha, right? S-H-A, Elisha. It's 1 Kings chapter 20, starting at verse 19. It says this. So Elijah, that's the first one, E-L-I-J-A. So Elijah went and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, plowing in a field. There were 12 teams of oxen in the field, and Elijah was plowing with the 12th team. Elijah went over to him and threw his cloak across his shoulder and then walked away. Elisha left the oxen standing there, ran after Elijah, and said to him, first let me go and kiss my father and mother goodbye, and then I will go with you. Elijah replied, go on back, but think about what I have done to you. So Elijah returned to his oxen, slaughtered them. He used the wood from the plow to build a fire to roast their flesh. He passed around the meat to the townspeople. They all ate. Then he went with Elijah as his assistant. I know many of you have probably read this text before. I've read it many a times. I believe I taught it. For you guys that are new, we're doing our best to go through the whole Bible. We're in the book of Luke, and I really like it. But this is a text that has just really stood out to me because I enjoy reading books. And for some reason, you know, even during this time when I probably had more time to read than I've just got busy. I do a little painting here and there, and so I just got busy. And it seem weird that, when you have time to do things, to grow in the grace and knowledge of your Lord Jesus Christ, Satan brings distractions, and you do everything but that. But if you're going to be an all-inner, I did a little devotional this week, and I said, you got to be a studier of the Word of God. You got to get into it, because Satan is always bringing distractions. And if you're an ADD person like me, you get distracted very, very, very easy. So if you're going to be an all-inner, you got to stay all in. And here's the story of Elijah, who was the mouthpiece of God. Just an interesting prophet. And, for you people that grew up going to Sunday school, you know all the stories of Elijah and fire and water. And he comes along and he taps Elisha on the shoulder. And he says, listen, you need to follow me. We see in the text in his response in any of the modern day translation, he says, listen, I need to go home. I need to kiss my parents goodbye. And then you don't know what he's going to do, because Elijah walks away and he says, well, just you think about this. So here's Elijah. We would say he's a heavy hitter for God. He's the mouthpiece of God. He had a few little hiccups, but God used him. We have this new guy, Elisha, who is called by God to, be a mentor. Be mentored by Elijah. And so what does he do? So we see he has oxen, and he's a farmer. He's in the agricultural business, and he's plowing a field. The next thing we hear is that he kills his equipment. He slaughters them. Not only does he kill the livestock, but he also takes the equipment that it took to turn the earth, and he breaks it all up, and he uses that for firewood to do what? To cook the meat, and then he feeds the whole town. He had nothing to go back to. He instantly became an all-inner. When God said, follow me, he said, absolutely. And he said, I'm going to follow you. And Elijah had to be impressed, because Elijah's going, what'd you do with the oxen? Killed them. What'd you do with the plows? Chopped them up, burned them, killed them. I have absolutely nothing to go back to. He is now all in. And when you read the text, you'll see that other priests, other prophets are asking Elisha, what are you doing? How come you're following him? He goes, listen, God has blessed Elijah. You guys know it. I want that, and I want maybe even a little bit more. It's pretty unusual, but maybe he wants just a little bit more than Elijah had. And so that's Elijah. He is 100% all in. Sometimes people don't become all in until they face death. If you have your Bibles, just turn over to 2 Kings chapter 7. 2 Kings chapter 7. This is about the lepers. I did this talk a few times ago. I think I did it on, I think Mike had me do this on our YouTube channel not too long ago. And it has to deal with fear. It has to deal with, just being 100% all in. And this is what it says. This is some prophecies made by Elijah, and this is what goes on when Samaria is being encamped. Here we go. It says this. 2 Kings chapter 7, starting verse 3, says this. Now there were 4 men with leprosy sitting at the entrance of the city gates. Why should we sit here waiting to die? They asked each other. We will starve if we stay here. But with the famine in the city, we will starve if we go back. So we might as well go and surrender to their Aramean army. If they let us live, so much the better. But if they kill us, we would have to die anyways. But if they kill us, we would have to die anyways. You know, we're going to die anyways. That's the leper's motto, we're going to die. So the city of Samaria is being besieged, meaning it is surrounded. There's, what does it say? I think it says 4 lepers, right? 4 men with leprosy. No, so there's 4 men with leprosy. Now, if you have leprosy, you're not popular. You don't get to live in the town. For you guys that have been here, as we go through the New Testament, you'll see that Jesus hung out with lepers. He hung out with the prostitutes. I think in the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew calls these people the notorious sinners. So that's who Jesus hangs out with. He hangs out with notorious sick people, sinners, with sick people. And so, you know, we got these lepers here, and the city is being besieged. They know they're going to die, and they're like, well, what are we going to do? You know, people don't care about us anyways. What are we going to do? And they go, well, let's just go out to the army. Absolutely. Let's just go. Let's just surrender. What the heck? We're going to die. It's funny, I was talking to a young man that comes here. He's a neurosurgeon. He sits in the back. You'll have to figure out who it is. And we just get to talk briefly when he's in town. He comes here. He's been coming, 4 years? Is that right? He's been coming here 4 years. I met him, a few months ago. Oh, my gosh. Isn't that bad? I go, so I see you come in. How long have you been? He goes, Pastor, I've been coming here 4 years ago. Oh, we're not that big. I should recognize that stuff, right? Anyways, basically he was going, we're all going to die. Sometimes we forget we're going to die, right? If you're afraid of dying, you will never live. You got that? And I told Pete that. I said, the reality is, if you're afraid of dying, you will never live. One thing about being an all-inner and a man of God, as a woman of God, you don't care about death. I care about hurting myself now. Seriously, not so much dying. Like when I was younger, a few years ago, I used to jump off Split Rock out in Holter Lake. I used to dive off it. I did flips off it. Now, I have no control of my body. I don't know what happened. As you get older, you used to have like a cat-like thing when you're a kid. And you could I could dive, flip, dive, spin around, wave, and then hit the water. Now, it's all I can do just to go straight down. Seriously, I think if I dive, I don't know what would happen. I would die. So my fear is not dying. My fear is just I would get hurt. And there is nothing worse than being hurt and being old at the same time. So that's always been my fear. But death, my wife knows I'm not afraid to die. I think sometimes that worries her. What are you doing, honey? Well, I bought another motorcycle. What are you going to do? I'm going to ride like a maniac. Because God has had plenty of time to take me out. I'm sure you guys can look back at your life and go, I probably shouldn't be here right now, but I am. I wonder why. Well, God wanted you to live. That's all I can say. And when you know God, I don't test him. I don't go, I wonder if God wants me to die. I'm going to jump off this cliff here and see what. No, I don't do that. I mean, listen, we were on the Ohio Turnpike. And because of the COVID thing, nobody gets pulled over. I'm telling you, nobody. These truckers are doing 120 miles an hour. I mean, the Ohio, it was like, listen, you could take truck drivers, you could take people that live in Detroit, in the Chicago area, you could put them in a NASCAR and they would win. These people have no fear. And Janelle, she sits on the big luxury seat on the right-hand side. I'm the captain on the left-hand side. I'm driving. But she is instructing me how to drive. And I love her, so I just let her. I don't care. She'll tell you I don't listen. Those rumble strips, I hit them all the time. Honey! Or if I'm in between lanes, honey, pick a lane. I go, I like them all. So she gives me a hard time. And she loves me and I love her. We don't care. Well, a portable parking lot, that is a car hauler, decides that he's entering off onto the Ohio Turnpike, and he's rocking. Now, he's coming up to me, and I can see him in my mirror. This guy is flying. And there's another semi in front of me, and he's not flying, and I'm not flying. But this portable parking lot, he's screaming by me. And I'm checking out the fourth lane, and I'm like, I don't think anybody's there. And he decides he's going to get over. And Janelle was like, he's coming over, he's coming over, he's coming over. And I'm like, yes, I am totally in control of my RV. I see that. And I'm like, he really is coming over. I mean, it's like a scene out of Mad Max. And so he's either going to rear end the semi in front of him, or he's going to sideswipe me. And I'm checking my mirror. I'm NASCAR in my RV. And I go, as he's about to hit me, I go, oh, I get over. She goes, that was close. That was a little too close. I go, yes, but if they had that on video, that would really look good. We could be on YouTube. Anyways. But I instantly thought to myself, boy, God could have taken us out. But I guess he didn't want me or Janelle, because we made it. We survived. But it is amazing how you can live when you're not in fear of death. These lepers in 2 Kings chapter 7, who say to themselves, we are besieged. It costs like a day's salary just to buy a spoonful of dove's poop to eat. They're debating, they're cutting up people. It is so bad in the city. They don't even live there anyways because nobody likes them. So they go, let's go out to see the army and let's see what's going to happen because we're going to die anyways. And as they're walking out, the Aramean army hears these 4 lepers coming and they leave. 4 lepers, they leave. They leave everything. If you read the text, they leave their money. They leave if they were grilling steaks, they left them. They left their camels. They left their horses. They left their swords. They left packs of gold, packs of silver. They left their beef jerky, cow jerky, no jerky. They left everything. And these 4 lepers get out there and they're like, oh my goodness. Look, a beautiful bottle of wine. Oh, some hard liquor. And they are eating, they are drinking, and they are going, this is unbelievable. This is fantastic. What do we do? And they're like, let's hide some of it. You know, we're not going to tell anybody. They didn't like us. They didn't let us in this city. They never shook our hands. They never hugged us. They treated us like we didn't even exist. Why should we be nice to them? And honestly, when you read this, you're going to go, yeah, really, why? And when you understand the culture of the day, why do these lepers have to be so daggone? They don't have to be nice. They were religious lepers. They were thanking God. God, this is so cool, man. We got more money than we could ever need. We got more food than we can ever eat. We got more booze and wine than we could ever drink. We got livestock out the wazoo. We got camels. We got horses. We got beef. But then they go, it just ain't right. It just isn't right. And the text will tell you that they eventually go back to Samaria and they let everybody know that, listen, man, we went out and God used us because we were all in, because we knew we were going to die one way or the other. And the Arameans heard that us 4 lepers were going to show up, and they ran. You guys go ahead. Go get something to eat. Sometimes there will be tragedy in your life that finally pushes you to become an all-inner. I mean, I've known people with tragedies in their life, and they go, oh, yeah, Ken, I'm going to love the Lord. And last for a year, a few months, and then they didn't quite burn all the oxen. They didn't quite burn all their equipment. They wanted to save a little bit just in case that didn't work out. They never were really all in like Elijah was. Elijah was all in. When he was tapped on the shoulder by Elijah and invited to be a prophet of God, he was all in. And he never looked back, and God did amazing things in his life. And I find it interesting that today many people who call themselves Christ followers have yet to be all in. There's one woman I know whom I love dearly. Her name is Carol John. She's my mom. She's an all-inner. She's always been an all-inner. See, my parents were first-generation Christians. My dad grew up in a bar in the 30s, 40s in Chicago. He was adopted when he was a baby. It wasn't but 4 or 5 years ago that we actually found out, about his family, his biological family. And it's just pretty interesting. But when you grow up in a bar in Chicago and your parents are alcoholic and you're pulling your dad off your mom because he's beating her to death, when your whole life has been around alcoholics, he really didn't know what to do with God. It was really interesting. He grew up a Catholic, and in Chicago in the 40s, late 40s, early 50s, when he became a Christ follower, he went to a meeting at this huge auditorium. And he said, I came down, these people from Moody Bible Institute were speaking. I came down, these students came up, and they asked me what it meant. And he goes, I want to put my trust in Jesus and all this stuff. And he was telling me this for the first time. I heard this just a few days ago, right outside Detroit. And he goes, when you grow up a Catholic, I always had to confess my sin. And he goes, I sinned a lot. I go, oh, Dad, I know that. You already shared with me many of that stuff. And he goes, so when I became a Christian, he goes, I didn't understand the whole Jesus thing. And he said, so when I became a man of God and I put my trust in Jesus Christ, he goes, I asked these students at Moody Bible Institute, he goes, who do I confess my sin to? And they go, well, Jesus. He's like, no. You don't understand. Who do I confess my sin to? And they go, Jesus. And my dad said it took him years to figure out that Jesus was his high priest and that he could just talk directly to Jesus. He didn't have to go through like the middleman. You know what I mean? I'll tell you, there's a really funny comedian out there. Her name is Kathy Madigan. And she does this little spoof on being a Catholic, and she's a Catholic. She said she was in Florida one time, and these born-again Christians came up there, and they asked her if she was a Christian. She said, yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. She goes, no. They go, no. Are you a Christian? She's like, well, yeah. No, do you talk directly to Jesus? She goes, no, we don't have enough. He's too busy. We have to talk to this saint, and if it's bad, we talk to his mom. But rarely do we. Anyways, that was a joke. I don't know if any of you guys got that. But my dad, who grew up Catholic, went to Catholic school and whatnot, and he goes, the hardest thing for him to understand was, I can just talk to Jesus. And then my dad became an all-inner. So my mom and dad were all-inners, first-generation Christians, leading us, their children, to be men and women of God the best they could. They gave it their best shot. Well, my mom is still an all-inner. She's 100%. My dad's 90, and he's doing good. But my mom has a keen ear to the Holy Spirit. And what I mean by that is many times her son, me, will know when she's praying for me. Amen. And I'll call her. I go, Mom, were you? Yes, I was. I go, how do you know? She goes, I just do. It's just God. So my mom's an all-inner. She's still an all-inner. And she was telling me a story that happened just a few weeks ago in Michigan. When we lived there in the 70s, we had some friends called the Tanners. They had a very nice house in Brighton, Michigan, where my folks live now, outside Detroit. And my mom and dad go to Costco because that's where old people go to eat hot dogs and get cheap Coke. So they go to Costco, eat hot dogs, get cheap Coke, and hang out, and then go home. But they have to pass their friend's old house, the Tanner's old house. And my mom would say, this house is just run down. It just looks terrible. She goes, but we started driving by it, and somebody bought it, and they were fixing it up, and it was looking good. So she told my dad, Frank, she goes, Frank, I'm going to swing by and tell him all the good times we had at that house. She goes, I think it's wonderful that, they're fixing it up. And my dad's like, no, Carol, you're not going to do that. And so my mom was like, that's fine. I will do it when you're not with me. Yeah, somebody's put it. That's right. Yeah. So that's what she did. She goes, Ken, I'm driving down and I see a guy out by the house. She goes, so I pull in and this guy's looking. My mom's 89 years old. She's pretty good at 89. She's really good. And the guy walks up to the car. She rolls her window down. And she tells this gentleman, she says, there have been some great times. There's been lots of laughter at this house. We used to come and do Bible studies here. And she goes, I just want you to know, I am so glad you're fixing it up. Now, my mom doesn't know this person from, Adam. But she does listen to the Lord. So, we're on her deck. We're on her little closed-in patio that she has. And she goes, you know what happened? I go, no, Mom, because I'm all ears. She goes, this guy goes to tell me, he goes, we had some wiring problems here. And, many times, if you've bought a new house, a new car, a lot of times you're going, oh, my goodness, why did I do this, right? And he goes, that's what we thought. We're like, why did we buy this house? We had some problems. We had some electrical problems. He goes, we called this electrician. This electrician came to our house, loves Jesus, and was telling us about this house. And we were just like, unbelievable. And then the guy goes, and we love Jesus. We're Christians. And then he goes, and you come and you share with me. And he's just like, man, it is just so cool to know that God is God. And, we're actually really glad we bought this house. And my mom goes, yeah, I just drove home, It's for her, it's just like normal, everyday Christian stuff. She's an all-inner. And really, whether we liked it or not, as kids, she didn't care. She was an all-inner no matter what. And growing up with parents that are all in, you get sucked in whether you like it or not. So when my mom and dad, transitioned from unbelievers to believers, they were all in. They jumped in, both feet. I got to get a drink of my perfect coffee here. So, we have a man here who is 100% all in. Many of you know that I have a loved one that had to go to rehab because she had some serious problems. And when you have a friend, a loved one that goes to a rehab, you have this thing called a family day. And we would go down to Billings and we would see her. And, you just learn. As a pastor, I've worked with addicts most of my career, all kinds of weird stuff. But until you have someone who's very close to you go through this, you really don't get to experience it all. Not that you really want to. So, I thought I had a grip on this whole, rehab stuff. And so you guys know that we have a spiritual giant in our midst, and his name is Jim. And when he came to me a few years ago and said, Pastor, because he had been coming here off and on, he says, Pastor, at Lippy's, he says, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to quit drinking coffee, and I'm going to stop using heroin. So he's going to like stop all these things at once. And I'm like, you know, what little I know about addictions and stuff like that, I'm like, why not just do, you know, why don't you just quit the big one? And I didn't know it at the time. You know, he probably didn't know the story of Elijah and Elisha, right? I don't think he knew the story, but he was living it right then and there. He says, no, if I'm going to be clean, if I'm going to be sober, and if God is really talking to me like he says he is, then I'm all in. And I'm gonna burn, right? I'm gonna burn my past. I'm gonna burn anything that would cause me to go down that road again. That's how you become an all-inner. That's what it takes to be all in. You got to be able to say, this is done. I've counseled men and women, and I've said, listen, guys, you know, there was a young woman. And she was just sexually abused there. I know you guys have heard these things many times, but I said, you know, you need to just write all the hurt, right? Write it down. Then, you know, go play with some matches. Burn it. You know, because what's behind you is behind you. You can't live, right? You can't live in shame. You can't live in guilt. You have to go forward. I think when God used Moses to pen down those words, listen, when God taps you on your shoulder, I pray that you are like Elijah. Like our friend Jim. You know, my mom, my dad, many people in this room, that you burn the past. Because you will never fully enjoy your life as a Christ follower if you try to hold on to the things that should have been burned. But when you burn it, you don't get to go back. You move forward. Lil, you got a song, and then I'll close in prayer.
Yep.